Hello and welcome to another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. In each episode, we take a look at a movie that is featured on Disney+. On this episode, we are taking a look at one of the first animated turned into live-action movies when we take a look at 101 Dalmatians starring Glenn Close. And if you are enjoying these episodes, I do ask that you please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified with each new video. Now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation. So like I said, today we are covering 101 Dalmatians. This movie was released on November 18th, 1996, and it was directed by Stephen Herrick. The screenplay was written by John Hughes. The production companies were Great Oak Entertainment along with Walt Disney Pictures, and it was distributed by Buena Vista Distribution. The budget for this movie was $67 million, and it did a box office return of $320.7 million. But let's take a look at the production. So John Hughes, who had the initial idea of composing this script, would approach Glenn Close to be Cruella de Vil in this movie, but Glenn Close turned her down. It was the film's costume designer, and Anthony Powell, who worked with Glenn Close on Broadway, on the show Sunset Boulevard, that was the one that ultimately convinced Glenn Close to take the role. Close would make some demands, however they were all positive. She would demand that all of the fur that Cruella would wear would be fake fur, and that the filming of the movie would take place in the United Kingdom. Both were agreed to, so filming took place in Shepperton Studios in London. And a bit of a trivia note for the Dalmatians, because a lot of them were real dogs. In order to get them to lick Jeff Daniels' face, they would actually smother his face in raw hot dogs right before shooting. In terms of the exterior for Cruella de Vil's mansion, it was Minster Court, who as her fashion house, and then Sarum Chase was used as the exterior of her de Vil manor. Her car was a modified Panther de Vil, and because they couldn't use all real puppies, they ended up enlisting Jim Henson's Creature Shop, who would provide the animatronic animals in the film. They did, however, end up using over 300 Dalmatian puppies, and producer Edward S. Fieldman would say that all of the Dalmatians were given adopted homes once the filming was completed. So in terms of the cast, we have Jeff Daniels, who plays Roger Dearly, Glenn Close, who plays Cruella de Vil, Jolie Richardson, who plays Anita Dearly, Joan Plowright, who plays the nanny, Hugh Laurie does the role of Jasper, and Mark Williams as Horace. So in terms of the plot, after a wild chase in the bustling streets of London, computer game author Roger and his pet Dalmatian Pongo, by a welcome twist of fate, are dragged into St. James Park, and they meet with fashion designer Anita and her pet Dalmatian Perdita. Soon one thing will lead to another, and Roger and Anita get married, and Perdita gets pregnant. However, their short-lived joy is disrupted when Anita's glamorous but horrible boss, Cruella de Vil, dognaps the innocent 15 puppies with the intention of making a luxurious fur coat with their fabulously spotted fur. Eventually, along with Perdita's, Cruella manages to bring the total to the struggling number of 99 Dalmatian puppies. So in terms of the legacy of the movie, the UK premiere of the movie was actually held at the Royal Albert Hall. And in order to promote the movie, the exterior of the hall was lit with Dalmatian spots. Several video games were released based on the movie, including a Tiger Electronics game, a Disney animated CD-ROM storybook, and a video game called 101 Dalmatians: Escape from de Vil Manor. In terms of the theme park, in Disneyland Paris, Cruella's Panther de Vil would be on display at the Studio Tram Tour, and behind the magic, as well as the animatronic puppies, would be displayed in some of their in the windows on Main Street. In Disneyland at the Town Square, they would have a Dalmatian celebration on Thanksgiving Day 1996. Guests would find movie-related activities, including spotted face painting, photo ops with Cruella de Vil, and they would also surprise guests with puppies for the guests to play with, and this ran until January 5th of 1997. So would I recommend the movie? This movie is quite interesting because I'm a big fan of the animated film, and this one you can definitely tell the influence of John Hughes because it's like if you take Home Alone and 101 Dalmatians and mix them all together, this is what you get. So there's a lot of Home Alone style hijinks in this movie, especially with Jasper and Horace and Cruella de Vil. They kind of put them through the ringer. I think this movie, unfortunately, it doesn't capture my interest as well as the animated one for a couple of reasons. This one, with being live action, the puppies and all the animals are silent throughout the entire movie, which leads to long stretches of time where it's just action with no dialogue. So I think that's, for me, it didn't capture my attention as well as, say, the animated film. That being said, like there is some good moments. The Hugh Laurie does an amazing job as Jasper. Glenn Close knocks it out of the park as Cruella de Vil, and both of them are worth seeing the movie on its own. So this movie I think is a great for families, especially with the mixture of the comedy and the live action dogs. Just for me, it just didn't hit that home run mark, which I was hoping for. So recommended, but it's not one that I'm gonna go to the animated one over this one 9 times out of 10. So thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. I would love for anyone to please leave a comment below on what they think of the live action 101 Dalmatians. And as we look forward to our next episode, we're going to stay in the realm of comedy as we take a look at Bride Wars starring Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day and we will see you real soon.